We're
unmuted.
No, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're on vacation now.
Yeah.
No count, so, yeah.
All right, ready?
Okay, we're ready.
We're unmuted, sorry. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the 8/17/2026 Killam School Building Committee to order. We are going to take a roll call vote. For attendance, Pat,
Here.
John,
Yes.
Chris,
Here.
Kirk,
Here.
Ed.
Here.
Greg,
Here.
and Nancy here, and Carla, I'm here as well. Quick review of our agenda. We will have any public comment, liaison reports. We're going to talk about butter communication. There's been quite a bit of it. We're going to have a discussion about RMLD, Reading Municipal Light Department, and an offer that rebate offer that they're making. CPL is going to do a schedule review. We're going to talk about construction and how it is moving right along, and a groundbreaking. And then we will have a financial review. I won't go through all those items for the financial review. We'll talk about invoicing, and then we'll go into approval of prior meeting minutes of our 7/20/26 meeting, talk about future agendas and adjourn. So we will start with any public comment. Did I call Ed? Ed, did I call you?
You did.
Okay. No online? No, okay, nobody's online, and everybody's in the room. So when we move to liaison reports. And we can start with what's on the agenda, and then we'll move on to something else. So butter communications.
We're gonna start,
Sure.
Madam Chair, and I know that there's a letter here that our OPM sent to property owners nearby, abutting the property, letting them know the construction's going on and so forth, and to direct all questions to the OPM team, which town staff are grateful for. They received now back from one abutter, and Justin Ferdenzi put his response into the packet here. He responded to it right away, talking about, a lot of people have questions about greenery and trees. We also received a letter from another abutter, the Douglas family, and their neighbors talking, expressing some concerns, some serious concerns about the loss of vegetation, particularly a lot of trees, right up against their property line. They're right at the parking lot sign, and that those trees are being cleared to make way for teacher parking, so that we can accommodate teachers on site during construction.
And just so everybody understands, as far as the trees go, we first and foremost have landscape architects on the team that are professional designers, understand trees and things of that nature. They have arborists in their groups. We also met with the tree warden, reviewed with them. We coordinated, there might have been some trees that we weren't planning on taking down, but they maybe were suggested because they had, hit their useful life, or they had damage or things of that nature. He also asked us to do some trimming on the trees that remain, which will hopefully help make them stronger and more vibrant. And that's one thing that people should understand, is that those trees will fill in. If you have two trees side by side, oftentimes the space between them, there's not as much growth. But when you cut down one tree, then that tree that remains, the growth actually starts to thrive on that side of the tree. So we're gonna see a lot of that. But the other thing, just if people can be a little patient, we're building the building first, and we're building the roads and the parking and everything. But there is a substantial amount of greenery and trees and going back in at the end of the project. So we are gonna be doing that. If you look at the documents, a lot of that greenery is around the perimeter of the building, of the site, because the site is not extremely large. We have a building and we have the parking and everything mostly centered on the site, so that we are trying to stay away from the neighbors as much as possible. And we took into account those green spaces, the trees, the shrubbery, things of that nature, fencing to kind of give a little bit of privacy for the neighbors and things of that nature. So I think hopefully people can understand that there is a little bit of an inconvenience, but it's that long-term benefit that we're gonna get out of all this. And I think right now on the list, we had 3 abutters. I think there may have been 1, possibly 2 more that we maybe just got today that we haven't even had a chance to, but we will go through those. Again, we're gonna make sure that we respond to everybody. We have a trailer out there right now. Our site rep is out there. Intermittent right now, only because we don't have power at the trailer yet. Once we have power at the trailer, we're gonna be there full time. And we'll be out there. So if there's construction activities happening, we have somebody on site. Well, you know, we're always there to be that interface for the public.
And in the packet, the building committee members will note that we did put in the landscape plan. It's on page 6 of the packet. So folks can see sort of what the plan is. Yeah, it's big, but it's there, so the public can see it. We can always refer people to this page, but we took it out of the long list of construction documents, so it's easy for people.
Yes. And if you scroll down just a little bit more there, you can see the site. You can see all the different greeneries, all the little shrubs, all the trees and everything really go in. And again, you can see them focused along the perimeter, along the Charles Street, along Cable Street, and then on the
And just so people know, these correspondence were put into the packet. We don't have like a catch-all Killam School Building Committee email, but some people may have gotten a certified letter to their homes.
Yes.
Some? Okay, I wasn't sure.
I was just.
No, it was
chair and vice chair.
No, from the Douglas family. That's why we put it in the packet.
Douglas one that's in here.
Yeah, it went to, I believe it went to select board as well, so, I put it in the packet just so everybody has it and knows what it's about and can put it out to the public as well.
You put
The letter is in there, yep,
The response.
our responses to it as well,
Have these responses been sent out to the department?
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we've actually gone back and forth.
There were some typos.
I'm sorry?
The meeting.
Sorry, there were some grammatical errors in them, but it's okay.
Okay.
I was comfortable. So I sent this letter back to them, and then we've since gone back and forth a little bit, and we're scheduled a meeting on site on the 25th at 10 a.m. At their request, they sent some times that they wanted to be.
Good with that?
Great.
And anybody have any questions? Any other liaison reports?
I think I had one other one specific to just an update, the committee of where we stand on MBE, WBE, BBE. I did put a memo in your package. Probably everybody here knows what this is, but just the general public, MBE is Minority Business Enterprise. WBE is Women Business Enterprise. BBE is somewhat newer to Massachusetts. It's Veteran Business Enterprise. That means companies that are owned by either minorities, women, or veterans. And the state has goals, not requirements, but goals for us to achieve a certain amount of subcontractor participation. And if you look at the little chart in the middle of the page here, the goal for MBE is 7.1%, WB is 8.9, and veteran businesses is 3.0. As part of the bid package, within 5 days of submitting their bid, the low bidder has to provide us documentation of securing subcontractors and meeting those goals. And if they don't meet those goals, they have to provide additional documentation showing why they didn't meet those goals, or, you know, and showing that they made a good faith effort. So this memorandum is, I think, a cover page of 65 pages of backup, if you will. So what we did is we did get an initial update from Brate on 6/18. Again, you can look at that little chart in the middle. I referred. At 6/18, they indicated that they weren't going to meet the goals, but they indicated that what they had secured from subcontractors within the 5 days of the initial bid. Then on 7/20, we got another update, then on 7/31, we got an additional update. Between 6/18 and 7/20, Rate themselves actually got certified as a veteran business enterprise, so they didn't have it on bid day, if you will, but they were in process and they knew it was coming along, so they have way overshot the goal for the veteran business with that understanding. But they are a little bit low on the W and MBEs. They have confirmed that they will continue to seek those vendors, but it's kind of a large diminishing returns. There's fewer and fewer vendors as they buy them out. There is a letter in there from Bright explaining some of the reasoning behind them not being able to meet this, just from my own personal experience. I think we had a couple of minor filed subbids that were MBEs, WBs. I don't think we had any MBEs bid the job as filed subbidders. Zero. So oftentimes you might get a mason or an electrician or somebody that is a larger, and they might give you a full goal for one of these, but we didn't get that. We did have some some WBEs that were included in those values. Bright also explained that they are union, and so that diminishes the pool just a little bit more because they can only go to union contractors on the work that they're buying out themselves. They provided a pretty extensive list of who they invited to bid this project, and that showed all the MBEs, all the WBEs, all the BBEs on there as well. So certainly willing to answer any questions. I know we've reviewed this, presented this to legal counsel. I know town purchasing has reviewed it as well. And I believe that we're accepting of this with the understanding that we expect Bright to continue to work towards getting additional, and just so you know, from the 20th to the 31st there, you can see that the MBE did go up by about $300,000. What they're doing is they're not only going to the subs, they're asking their subs to go out to other subs and suppliers and things of that nature. And that's how that 300,000 came in. It wasn't a direct sub to Bright, it was a sub of a sub. So they're definitely doing their due diligence trying to get to those goals.
At this point, I'm satisfied in their efforts, but I expect them to continue their efforts. And we'll go along, and as they go, we'll continue to get updated schedule participation.
I am going to just highlight, Laura Gem sent an email out to, and everybody on the committee should have gotten it.
Just tonight.
Yeah, it was like 5:15 or so, talking about reminding people, because we're an appointed board, that we are required to do training, ethics training 2 times a year online, and conflict of interest training 1 time a year online. And there are certain things with the pending override and discussions, there are certain things that we can and can't do in terms of being an elected member, in terms of endorsing or not endorsing an override. So if people can just take a look at that email and make sure you're up to date with those trainings.
Madam Chair, can I just add on to that if you're okay with that?
Yes.
If you have any questions about, there's different rules for elected and appointed, or appointed policymaking and appointed non-policymaking. Staff are appointed non-policymaking. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to email me or the town manager's office or override@readingma.gov. We have a number of people that have eyes on those emails, and so we welcome questions. For folks.
Well, we already do this. I mean, we've done that for this year.
Right.
So we do it every year. So why is it coming up now? It's routine.
It is housekeeping. There are new members
Oh,
of
okay.
boards and committees, so it's sort of like the town clerk is sending us out as a housekeeping measure to make sure everybody's up to date. And we're all on the same page about what's there, but the new piece is the guidance from campaign finance law and what is allowed and not allowed in what buildings and what types of bids. So there's some detail there. People should familiarize themselves with
Because of the override. Just
Right.
like when we were,
debt exclusion.
we were going for the debt exclusion vote for this project. There were things we could and couldn't do, but Anybody else have a liaison report? Can I just wait one more comment? I don't know if Chris is on. Chris Haley, just thank you for giving the updates on the project on Reading Recap. It's actually really cool and it's engaged a lot of people, just kind of seeing what's happening with the construction. So I think we will be doing progress photos and things like that, but that real time is kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't know if it's maybe a liaison, maybe just to kind of dovetail into that. I know Joshua was talking to us about doing regular updates through I think it's through the town social media.
It's gonna be town social media and our town Killam website as well.
So we're gonna be showing some pictures, I think maybe tonight, and if not tonight, maybe going forward. We're gonna try and allow those pictures would be the ones we try and focus on having Joshua upload. If there's specific events or things, you know, the first concrete pour, we'll make sure we get some extra photos of that. We're gonna be hopefully doing a groundbreaking in mid-September, you know, we'll have some photos from that. A lot of what we're gonna be sharing here might be very similarly shared out to the public, not just through meeting minutes or things like that, but maybe through the social
Oh, yes.
media
Yeah.
avenues.
We would love to share it on school social media as well, so please make sure that we would love to see those pictures as well. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Right? Anyone else for a liaison report?
I think if I could, Carla, real quick.
Yeah, Chris?
I haven't brought this up to Olivia yet or anything, but I just, I think that I would be able to make the Killam School website significantly better than it already is. You know, just to kind of UI kind of change to make it look significantly better, you know, and more accessible for the public with documents and everything else. So obviously I designed this one, but I know I can just make something better than what it is. And it wouldn't cost anything. It's just a decision that has to get made over, you know, do you want to go ahead with that or what? So.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to RMLD. Meeting discussion.
So I think in general, we've had some discussions with RMLD. I think it's been mostly Carla and Jane that have had the initial discussions with them. I think we've invited them to come in. I think last month we may have talked about having a vote this month, but I think we want to have them here to be able to present before the vote. So I think if you notice, we don't have an asterisk there. We don't have a vote requested tonight because we just wanted to let everybody know that we think it's more important for them to have that discussion with us before we make any decisions on it.
So I can start a little bit, because I've been kind of pushing this. Initially, RMLD offered, actually both projects, a $60,000 grant. And then they changed things up and recently and offered, it was based on your energy use. But for Killam, we feel like we would have gotten their maximum offering, which is $120,000. So part of that agreement that, you know, they have terms to their offer. And part of that is receiving their recs. And they would actually take over and own all of the recs for the project. And so I kind of started asking questions like, so what does that mean for us? And they have like gonna do this in total layman's terms. They have like a market that they buy and sell recs off of. And they manage that, and these conglomerates of all these light departments have a company that actually manages this for them. That's a service that's provided to them, but they're part owners to this company. It's New England Energy or something like that. So the piece of it that bothers me a little bit is that if if they were gonna go dollar to dollar, our rebate should be about double the 120. So part of me says, well, why do we have to give you all the recs? And do those recs have value for the town? And is that something the town could manage or hire someone to manage those recs? So those are questions that Jane's been working on. We've had discussions with Colliers. We've had discussions with Plant Moran and asked them those questions because that's kind of their wheelhouse. So we're getting all of that information. I've asked, I sat and met with Jason Small from RMLD, their new executive director, and asked if they could come and present this to us as well. So they're gonna come in September to present it, but Jane did a lot of the legwork of what does this mean for us as a town, and is it something even from a town perspective with both projects that could be lucrative for us. And part of that is how does it affect our LEED certification? Because if we don't own those recs, we can't get the credit. And does that possibly, we have certain LEED qualifications for our MSBA grant. So we have to make sure we're within those limits, which we will be. But there's just a lot of different variables to understand. As a town, we wouldn't own that, so we wouldn't have at a minimum bragging rights from a town perspective. But what does that mean for us with getting other outside grants from the state and feds and stuff like that? So
When we went through the analysis on the geothermal and solar, we were basically offsetting costs with higher reimbursement from MSBA and potential IRA grants. If we effectively sell these recs, then we can't use that we sell these recs to RMLD, then we effectively can't use that, or can we, for the MSBA and the IRA? And I don't know if the solar portion of the IRA is gone. Which brings us back to like the question, like the geothermal, the whole thing with the geothermal was like, we're gonna spend $2 million and get $2 million back. And are we still on track to get those grants?
So I can maybe step in on it a little bit. So just, I think when Carla mentioned a minute ago, Rex, that's the renewable energy certificates, or renewable energy credits, if you will, just so everybody understands. So I think, Pat, you're right. I don't believe the IRA ties to solar any longer. What we're talking about specifically here with the IRA rec, with the solar rec wouldn't affect the geothermal at all. They're all green energy, but they're separate pools, if you will. But I think what we're looking at is that the solar array that we have on the building will about double the maximum allowable grant, basically. They'll give you so many dollars per megawatt or per kilowatt, I'll say. When you get to a megawatt, basically you've maxed out, and we're twice that. So that's where we are with solar. So that's the consideration. Is there potential that we give them half and satisfy their max, and then do you keep the other half and do something else with it, or do you just give them that and allow them to manage that as well? David might be able to say better than I can. I think this affects our LEED from a standpoint that it might drop us from gold to silver. It's not a concern of dropping us out of silver. It's not a concern with the prerequisite required points that we need to get. Is that right, David?
Yeah, that's correct, Mike. Yeah, we're currently at gold, but that's again with credits derived from keeping the PV recs. Double checking the impacts. I think the total point reduction is 9 points if we were to lose the recs. So it is not an insignificant impact, but it does not drop us below silver, which we need as a MSBA requirement. And I think everybody understands, you don't get additional reimbursement from the MSBA for achieving gold, but it is nice to do so. We usually try to shoot for gold, and we can usually hit it. But again, we need all the points we can get usually to do that. But again, the 9 points is not critical. It is somewhat discretionary. And I understand the committee obviously is looking for additional information from RMLD. If anybody has any further detailed questions around LEED, we can certainly provide that.
Just so everybody understands, the MSBA requires LEED silver at a minimum now. So that is the minimum threshold that we have. So all of our buildings are going to meet that. The MSBA does allow 4 additional bonus points for additional green energies and for air quality. And we are going for those as well. But the regs don't affect those bonus points, if you will.
Yeah, that's correct.
Make it a little more confusing.
Does any of this affect the amount of energy the project will consume?
It doesn't affect the amount of energy you consume. It just affects the amount of renewable energy you can claim.
It's what gives government bad name. It's manipulation of nothing.
Yeah.
It produces nothing for society. It just accuses people, keep people employed. You don't want to hear my views about the evils of government subsidies anymore. But it's a wonderful example of it doesn't do anything for the world.
Our building is still gonna be efficient.
Our bill can be what it is, regardless of what we do, what reimbursements we get from our MLD, which we pay for out of our pocket when we pay our light bill. But I've been through this before, so my view is we should say, no, go. We don't want it.
No, what?
Hmm?
What?
What?
What do you want to say no to?
To anything that our MLD wants to offer us.
So do you wanna keep the recs and figure out a way to sell them ourselves?
Yeah.
Into a market we don't have access to.
Not do anything if it doesn't improve the energy efficiency of the building.
Well, it's the renewable energy credits are something we have value. They don't have value unless we sell
They have no value unless we sell them to somebody.
them.
I hear a voice.
Yes.
The payback on these recs by a very high level analysis is about 12 years on the Killam project. Not including any replacement parts or any maintenance or anything like that, added on top. For recal, the payback would be 24 years, which would exceed the life of the system. The grant that we would get is at the end of the project from RMLD. Is there a chance by the time we want to claim it that the number might be higher? Maybe. They say no. But that's $240,000 we don't have to borrow. It's $240,000. It doesn't come out of the. Now, is there value? There's more work. So whatever the committee wants to do.
I think it's good to look into it, right? I hear what you're saying, and my skeptical mind goes where you go as well. But I think it's worth something to us, and we don't want to just throw it away. We want to be able to see if it is more advantageous for us to keep it and hire somebody to manage it for us,
Sure.
or just accept the money from our mill.
Yeah, it's typical Massachusetts. It doesn't happen elsewhere.
And John, I would say I kind of probably align with you a lot more on that than you might think, but like we have to meet LEED silver, for example, because the MSBA has that requirement. If you meet LEED gold, it's better because you get the plaque that says gold instead of the plaque that says silver. But I think I even said a long time ago, go for LEED platinum, go for LEED silver, get the most energy efficient building you can, and however the LEED falls, it falls, right? Like if you have there could be a more energy efficient building that gets LEED silver and a less energy efficient that got LEED gold because they tried to get the LEED ones. They didn't sell their racks, or so I think I mentioned years ago I did a job at Northeastern and they got to a point where they had to put solar to do their hot water and try to get to platinum. And the return on investment was 22 years and the life cycle was 20 years. So they were literally just paying, and they said, no, we're not going to do it. Like they made that decision. They had a very super high energy efficient building. It was LEED gold plus. It almost made platinum, but they didn't want to do that in the end. So again, it's certainly up to the committee, but I think the LEED silvers we have to get. But anything beyond that, your building is energy efficient, whether it's silver, gold, or platinum.
It's the benefit's gonna be in our utility cost.
Right.
what for that net metering.
And part of the, when I was speaking with, Jason Small said, can you give some explanation on net metering as well? So we can.
And you sell these certificates so that other people do not have to produce energy efficient designs. In other words, you can sell it to a company which is energy inefficient, and they can buy your rank. And that's what it is. It's just a shell game.
Yeah.
Because
It is.
they should be doing, the company that you sell it to is let off the hook from doing some energy efficient work.
Well, the only way that like RMLD and other communities in general, or any individual is going to get to net zero by 2050, which is the current law, is if they do it through their utility company. And so by us creating solar system, energy generation on the roofs of our buildings, and we give them the recs, they hold on to the recs, that helps get them to that net zero number. That's what those recs count for. So we will continue to generate one rec for every megawatt of energy that we generate, and that will continue to the life of the system. So, the time value of money says, money I have today is worth more than the money that I have 20 years from now. So, that's another financial way to sort of.
I understand this.
I know you do.
Understand. But it doesn't improve, it doesn't change the world in terms of improving energy efficiency. You sell those to people who do not want themselves to increase their energy efficiency.
Right, or RMLD can hold on to them for
Same thing.
they're about to get to the, help them get to that, so that
Okay.
2050 goal. And he'll talk to more about that when he comes.
Yeah,
We're pulling in Plant Moran as well.
Correct.
Because they're the experts on it, so we want their way in.
Yeah.
We do want it as well.
yeah, they'll be expert at manipulating the money so that it sounds good, but it doesn't really increase, doesn't save the world.
No, we're gonna have an efficient building no matter what, but if we have a few extra dollars in our pockets, then that's part of our
We
job
do,
as well.
but somebody else doesn't.
Yeah, but we made it,
Yeah,
so
it's fine.
No, anyway, we don't.
As long as in our.
We don't. I'm keen to be different.
there are no kings, no kings.
All right,
Schedule?
sure.
Just.
Sheriff. All right, so this is our project schedule, our high level schedule. The red line, you can see that we're obviously in construction right now. Contractors on site. Some of the things that we'll be highlighting on the schedule going forward that we want to kind of keep on our radar are the FF&E procurement and the technology procurement. There are some items with technology and owner first items that take some coordinating and scheduling ahead that will fall on the owner's part, so we'll make sure we highlight those items in the schedule moving forward. And then I have a preliminary construction schedule from the contractor. The first part of it is primarily their submittal processes, the items, the products that are going to be providing for submittals. So if you're just looking through it from the beginning, kind of look like they have items in there like electrical and generators. That's not stuff being installed, that's items that they're going to be submitting data product information to the architect for submittals. As you scroll down.
All the paperwork before we get the shovel.
Exactly. So as you scroll down to page 5, it'll start showing the items that they've been working on this month, such as the survey, the fence layout, setting the trailers. The trailers have been set and the gates have been installed. There's some minor tweaking that they got to do with the gates and some other items, but they're working towards installing the temp parking lot, and there is a temp walkway for student access as well going in, and as well as tree removal. And then as you move towards September, November, December timeframe, they'll be doing footings and pouring foundation walls and hopefully setting some steel, swinging steel by November as the schedule shows. Installing decking, roof decking, and pouring those slabs. Any questions about construction work moving forward?
I just had a quick one, Justin, if I could, Carla. Are we still targeting February 2028 as the move-in date. Has that been adjusted at all?
That has not been adjusted.
Okay,
That's still the target.
all right. Yeah, that's all I had.
Okay.
You know when they're planning on doing the geothermal wells? Just looking at the schedule, I don't see them here, but this looks like it only goes through. This is like a maybe a 90 day.
90
It's like a 90
Yeah,
day.
this is only a 90-day. They're gonna give us something by the end of the month that's more complete, yeah, but they said they were able to get a window in November for that steel erection. So that was really their primary goal, is to get the concrete in and get the steel going, so I think
Yeah, it looks like
the
they're targeting
geothermal wells will
October.
follow.
Looks actually, they're targeting October. Which is pretty aggressive. That'd be pretty good if they got the ball.
So that's scheduled, and I think for financial, next item, we'll go through, you wanted to go through the
Yeah.
memos first?
And just so everybody knows on the schedule, we are gonna get a more complete schedule from them. We're also getting a 3-week look ahead from them that we're sharing with the school department and Lindsay and in the meeting that we call the OAC, the owner architect contractor meeting. So we have even more detail in there, and the first milestones here are, like Justin just mentioned, getting temporary parking lot in and paved before the staff get here, and the temporary walkway in and installed so that we have access from Havel Street, and making sure that access from the back of the building is maintained. And we met with the fire department and the various AHJ's authorities having jurisdiction to make sure that everybody's coordinated on those. In addition to meeting with butters and everybody. So it's been a lot of meetings lately, but the contractor's moving forward and trees have started coming down. The parking lot is being graded, things of that nature are moving forward, so that's good. And
The goal here is to have the site ready to go, the parking for the staff ready to go, and have safety measures all in place by the time staff and students come on.
yeah, if you went to the site right now, there's a fence, and that's the quote unquote construction area. But they're outside of it right now because we are doing those temporary measures to get the parking lot and stuff in, but we didn't put up a fence just to put the parking lot in, but so they are working outside that area right now. The goal is that once the students are back in, once the staff's back in, that we're really kind of staying within that fence line, coming in off of Haven Street.
I'll just say I haven't driven back past that area in about 4 business days, and I was really impressed this morning by how much progress was made. So thank you for that. I did have a quick question. Is there going to be how I know that now that I see the trees that are going to remain in that parking spot, like how are we going to line up the parking spaces so that we're sort of avoiding those trees that feel like they're going to be in the middle of the parking lot?
You're talking the temporary parking lot?
Yeah, yes, sir. Maybe that's not an answer for now. Something I did notice is that there are a few of those trees that are squarely right in the middle of the parking lot.
So the parking lot has a bit of an unusual shape here. And the reason why is we're trying to use the same general layout for the future driveway and parking lot. So if I slide over here just a second, these are the spots that the contractor, we provided the contractor, and we're replicating those spaces over here. And you can see we're not even going out to the edges here. That allows for snow removal and snow piling and things of that nature. So that's how your parking lot will be striped. It's just,
There are a few trees remaining in that area. So I think that's the question.
I think the trees are like in this area here and around the perimeter. I don't believe there's any within.
No, there was some in the middle. There were today, anyway.
I didn't go out there today, so I don't know, but
Well,
my expectation is everything that's gray, the trees have been removed. If they haven't, maybe they missed those.
Yeah.
it's just a few that kind of striking trees.
It might be. I'm happy to drive out. I'm on my way to tomorrow. I'll take a look, but it did seem like there were some that still were in the middle, and I thought they were the ones that had been flagged. So
Okay.
So we can, Dave Delaire, do you have?
They were flagged.
They were
The
flagged.
trees that are left were flagged to be left alone. So I think you know, they worked around them.
Are they in that area, Dave?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, what he's talking about, but it looks a little odd, but I think once they get the lining for the driveways and stuff, I think it'll work out.
Is that paved or is that gravel?
Gonna be paved. And then the rest of those trees in that area, which everybody calls a leprechaun forest, besides our tagged trees, will be taken down in a different phase.
We've got most of the trees down now. The Reading Power Company came through today and wants a little bit of trimming to go on before they put the pole in to run their power lines because it's a little tight over there. So that's something we're going to have to address in the next couple of days to get that, because we're ready for inspection for the electric, but we don't have the power in yet. So in order to put that power line in from the existing pole, we need to run it into the new pole location. So we need to do a little bit more trimming.
Dave, is
Otherwise,
that-
the tree companies have done a fabulous job.
Dave, has that walkway been on the Sawtell House side? Has that walkway been put in yet? Probably
I
not.
don't think so.
Probably not.
Not yet, but
Okay.
it's scheduled.
Yeah, be done soon.
I think timing wise, they were focusing on the parking lot first and then the walkway second, because they had about a week
Yeah.
lag.
Yeah.
What are they doing, stump grinding? Leprechaun forest,
They're not grinding, they're removing
pull them out,
and taking the roots out.
when's that happening? You know,
If they're within the parking, it's gonna be done before the parking lot is done.
The
That
date
parking lot is
supposed to be
scheduled to
done
complete
tomorrow.
Friday.
okay, so soon.
That parking lot is scheduled to complete Friday.
They were exposing.
Lindsay Lindsay
Go ahead,
said
Lindsay.
something, sorry, Lindsay.
Our next move is to start pulling out the stumps. But today they were exposing the roots that were all around that area. So that's going to happen very shortly.
Thank you.
It just might be helpful with some sign, once we see it, it might be worth kind of doing some signage or something, because it is a little, could be a little tricky. I'm not seeing it yet, but it could be a little tricky.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, we can always do some temp signs as needed. Yeah.
Thanks.
Have Bree done a geothermal job before?
Yes.
They actually finished, they didn't want to have. So.
Haverhill did not have, no.
Okay. Because we all expected that the geothermal would come ahead of the foundations, that was our expectation.
No, we had a lot of discussion about that. We assumed it would be one or the other, that they wouldn't try to kind of tackle it on two fronts. And I think they felt that it was most important to get the building going first, so that they could get all the other trades in there, and then they can kind of work once they're, once the island's built, they can kind of work around the island.
Probably kind of, if you don't do it now, now's the best time, because your water tables, that's close, right? So if you don't do it now, they get into steel, they're immediately gonna go to decks and do the envelope build, they're working around the building. And then at some point next fall, they need to finish around the building, do all the finishes, so it's kind of phasing towards next summer.
That's
One
what
of
I'm
the,
thinking, next spring, early summer.
yeah, one of the challenges with that is there's no real estate left to dewater anything, to have a dewatering pit. So there wasn't a ton of water, so it's not bad. And I think the soils were generally granular and loose, so they track pretty well.
They're putting it back in, yeah, except if it's frozen, yeah.
Yeah, it's gone through that.
I just thought they did the geotech first. Which is very messy.
Yeah, with it. Interesting. I'll be interested to see where that shows when they give us the full schedule.
So before we move on to that, I think we had another item here with the groundbreaking ceremony, just before we move on to the
Yes.
schedule. I believe we're targeting September 18th, 2 p.m.
Please call me out at 1.
Okay,
So Park Hall should be on.
is that, I think that's still the date?
Think so?
Yeah.
The only thing that you guys originally said was you were looking for more parking that day. Staff are still there until 3:10 that day. I don't know if that matters or not.
I think we're probably at the mercy of that at this point. I think if we can at least get the parents in and out, so you don't have parent drop off, pick up in the middle of the groundbreaking, that's probably the best that we're gonna be able to do. If we're not doing a lot on the site, we might be able to allow some parking on the site, you know, we gotta kind of see where that is at that point.
Okay.
So if everybody can just make a note of that in your calendars, because obviously the whole committee, everybody involved is gonna be invited. Drop that into people's calendars.
What time are you doing it?
2 o'clock on September 18th.
Do you wanna do it at 2 or do you wanna do it at 3? Maybe the staff can leave a little early.
It's also Friday
It's up to
afternoon.
the superintendent. Yeah, it's also
It's Friday afternoon, MSBA will be coming. So everybody else.
3 o'clock still working hours, in September. Summer hours are over.
Coming from the town hall
About
that
5
doesn't work on
o'clock.
Fridays.
Not over yet, but it's winding
All right,
down.
we all work, 40 hours without that.
All right, 2 o'clock it is, unless Henry has something different to say.
I haven't started a full day of school yet, so I have literally no knowledge. So Lindsay, I'll defer to Lindsay.
You wanna do 2, you wanna do 3, Linz?
No, 2's great. That works. It's a busy week.
Alright, so the next item we had on the agenda is talking about the financials. Before we get into the regular financials with commitments and invoices and all that, we wanted to talk about a couple of things here. The first 3 bullets, if you will, under bullet 6 is bid savings, MSBA 3011 form, and PFA amendment. That's really kind of 3 parts of the same issue, if you will, it's the same item. So we talked at the last couple of meetings about bid savings, and I'm gonna share my screen here if I can. Share. So I did provide a memo to Carla and to Jane, and it was in your package, so it was CC'd to everybody, just outlining kind of where we are right now. So the construction bid totaled 76 million. Our initial budget with the MSBA, based off of what we signed the agreement with, was about 101 million. That 76 million does include add alternates 1 and 2. So the savings there is approximately $25 million, which is just unbelievable. Like I've had a lot of good luck over the years with getting some bid savings, but 25 million is it's certainly by far the largest savings I've ever seen.
Outstanding.
So the MSBA has sent us a letter, and by Friday, we need to respond back to them. And we need to tell them what we intend to do with the bid savings. They need a certification from town council saying that what we want to do is consistent with the vote that was taken by at town meeting and by the community. I'll just tell you it is. With the 3 options I'm giving you, all 3 of them would meet those requirements. So in its simplest terms, the MSBA is going to plug these new numbers into the 3011 form, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. If everybody remembers, there's a lot of complications there. There's certain caps on asbestos work, there's caps on designer work, on the site work, on our work. There's lots of different caps and everything. They plug the numbers in and they spit out a number at the bottom. I tried to do that. It's a draft, approximate. I think it will be reasonably close to what the MSBA will come back with. But what we try to do is we try to plug in 3 options just to kind of give you a general sense. Option 1, sorry, all 3 options, the MSBA is going to take their share back, period. What are we going to do with our share? So option 1 is we give 100% of all our bid savings back right now. What that does is it gives us the least, or sorry, let me do the options in the order I have it. Option one is that we keep all the savings. So the MSBA takes theirs, we keep all of ours. That gives us the most flexibility in the future. It gives you the ability to spend that, doesn't mean you will spend that. I think we have kind of showed that even though we had a $101 million budget, we didn't spend one already, we spent 76. Just because we have additional contingency funds doesn't mean we have to spend those. But that is typically what I recommend, but I don't typically see savings in the value that we're at. Option two is the district chooses to retain a portion of their savings. For the sake of discussion, I said 50%. You know, in my calculations, again, it could be whatever percentage you wanted. It's a portion of it. In that situation, what we have to do is we actually, I think the town would have to go back to town meeting and inform them that we are intending to reduce the overall budget by X dollars. And instead of $130 million, now we're doing $120 million or something like that.
Specifically, the CFO would ask town meeting to rescind the borrowing by the amount of the savings. So that would prevent us from reaching into that savings to bond it at the end.
And just so everybody understands, everything we're talking about right now is budget. It doesn't mean doesn't mean we're borrowing that much money. There's lots of complications here with what the MSBA is giving us back and things of that. Go ahead. All right, so just because we're talking numbers here, like giving savings, it doesn't mean we're spending it right now. It doesn't mean we're borrowing it right now. I think we're doing a very appropriate sections of borrowing. We're borrowing a chunk at a time and working with the MSBA to get reimbursements and stuff like that. So just, again, we're talking budgets here, not spending. Right. So option one was keep all the savings. Option two was keep a portion of the savings. And then option three, and both of those give you more flexibility for unforeseens and if things were to come up in the project. Option three is that we return all of our savings now. It reduces your budget by the greatest amount and gives us the least amount of flexibility. I will say, if the bid came in at $101 million, that's where we'd be. That would be our option. Like, you know, if they had come in at exactly the number, do I think we could have still done the job? Absolutely. So any one of these three options is viable, but I always like to have flexibility and have a rainy day, you know, emergency backup plan, if you will. So if you were to ask me, number one is the one I've always recommended, keeping all the savings. In this situation with the $25 million, I certainly could see option two being viable. I would not recommend option three just because we should be able to manage to that, but we have some flexibility might not happen. So again, it's certainly open to everybody's.
All right.
Oh,
There we go. Ed, sorry, go
we're
ahead.
gonna open it up to discussion. Go ahead, Ed.
Thanks, Carla. So Mike, in that third option, where you're just talking about, what happens if we did the third one and then we ran into something?
So I'm gonna scroll down to the 3011.
What ends up happening at that point?
So
Yeah, I was looking at those.
So this is an abbreviated version of the 3011. I tried to hide it just to hide some information just to make it more manageable. To understand, I have the electronic or the Excel file. I'm happy to open it, but just explain to everybody here. I put a little blue box at the top telling you what we're doing in each of these. So there's three versions of this. This says return 100% of the funds. This says return 50% of it. And this says return zero. So I'm going to look at the third option, which is returning everything, return 100%. So you can see in red here, I adjusted the $101 million down to 76. In doing that, I had to adjust some other numbers for all the different caps and everything like that. And where do we get to at the bottom? What happens is our original budget was $130 million. That $130 million budget would now be $105 million. We'd be giving back about $24.5 million. And then the MSBA share would be $336,000. That's what I'm estimating right now. So the total return would be almost at $25 million. So your question, Ed, is we have $5 million in contingency for hard cost contingency, and we have $1.1 million in owner's contingency. If we had spent all of that money in, all of that $6.2 million and we needed to spend more, you would either have to find money out of the operational budget, or you would have to go back out for another vote and have the town approve another override or another exclusion or something like that. So that's why I'm not recommending it. We have that flexibility. It doesn't mean we're gonna spend it. It means we might have more to return at the end of the project. But that is what you would run up against, is that you wouldn't want to get that far in the project and not do something. I guess maybe the other option is if you came up with an issue, you'd have to address it without spending additional money. So
You have to value engineer something, cut
Yes.
something out, whatever.
take
it
something
be.
out.
But with
Yeah.
this option, you still have $6 million of contingency.
That's correct.
So we still have $6 million of a slush fund.
100%.
Or whatever.
That's correct.
And we thought that would be adequate. We've always thought that was adequate for the job.
Agreed.
So there has to be something to change that view, which says that is no longer adequate. What is it that changed the view, which says it used to be considered adequate, but now it may not be considered?
I think the answer is we always thought it was adequate, we still do. But we have a different opportunity with the bid savings to give back half of it or all of it or none of it.
Yes,
So
I
we
understand
do
that.
have an additional, like, we have an additional option, let's put it that way.
Yes. But there has to be something changed, which tells us that the 6 million, whatever it is no longer considered ample to run the job.
So that's gonna be part of your reasons why you vote for giving it all back.
I wouldn't give it all back, but I'd give less than 50.
So
I give more than 50% back here.
I think the only thing I would say is that unforeseens are unforeseen, right? Like whether it's inside the existing building, whether it's underground or something like that, we don't know what we're gonna run into. Do I think that we can manage it with the 6 million? I think we can. But if we have the flexibility, the voting populace voted for 130 million. I don't think anybody here is saying we're gonna spend 130 million.
Not.
In fact, we're not. But I think given the scenario Ed just asked about, if we somehow came up against something unforeseen, COVID version 2, 2.0 or something like that, that just something that we can't possibly think of, it would be nice to have that flexibility. So that I think that's why leaving a little more room than the $6 million, it gives you that advantage. You don't have to go back out for a vote. You don't have to tax the operational budget or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't be able to, there's no way our operational budget would be able to take care of unforeseens at all. It is already to the limit. And, tariffs are kind of the thing that I'm more concerned about. There's a lot of uncertainty that this project's been looking at, and it's going up and down. So I have concerns, particularly about steel. We feel that's covered right now, but if the administration makes a change, I don't know what's going on with energy prices, all of the different, inputs. I have a level of uncertainty that I think having an additional savings, if we keep it separate, count it separately, and we don't have to borrow it in the end, we're gonna give it back anyway. But if worst comes to worst, I don't really have an appetite to go back to the public and ask for more money in any.
Ed?
Thanks, Carla. Jane, that was going to be my. You just kind of hit on that last point. So if I kind of agree with Mike. The 50%. I think John said the same thing. On that makes the most sense. But even in that scenario, do I have it right that if we still the numbers that we have in the estimated budget, at 98, revised at 98 million. If we still are, kind of below that, isn't Sharon just arranging the borrowing so we're not going to be borrowing for it anyways? Even at 50%, if we end up, not needing any of it, isn't she, kind of strategically borrowing so that we're still doing right by the project and the town at the end of the day?
Correct.
Yes.
To specifically, okay, thank you. To specifically, for the public to have clear understanding, we have borrowed a portion of the cost. The most of it, I think it's about 50 million she's borrowed, 50 or 60 million she's already borrowed for the Killam project. And that's out of our original expected 86 million full borrowing, am I getting that correct? So the part that we would be responsible for. So that she will ban additional borrowings to manage the cash flow. So they're short-term borrowings. They are not, they don't require a bond rating or any of that. And then at the very end of the project, when we know, the final costs have come in, then she will be doing the second tranche of debt for Killam. And that we're hoping will be hitting tax bills in FY 29. But we're not certain on when that will be because we don't know the pace of construction. And how that spend will go. But the intention is so that we borrow only what we actually need to pay for the project. So we wouldn't be borrowing and then holding money aside like we did at the end of the library project. We had monies that we eventually gave to the Killam project, like to offset costs on the Killam project, because you can't use it for anything except a similar size project, similar type of project. So in order to avoid that situation, that second tranche will be at the end of the project. And to your point, Mr. Ross, we will not be borrowing any of the savings, even if we give 50% of it back or whatever the number is the committee is comfortable with. The remaining part still will be borrowed. We may not have to borrow much of that contingency, either, which is great. So all of that, it helps our taxpayers.
It's our credit limit, basically. Correct,
Yep.
right?
If I can, Carla, just two things. First, Jane, I take objection to Mr. Ross. Let's not do that anymore. That's far too
I beg your
formal for me.
pardon,
Yes, thank
deep
you.
apologies.
And then in all seriousness, Mike, just a kind of a follow-up question. Does the MSBA just do this, like once we get to this point, they just reevaluate in the 3011 and require that? Is this just kind of normal course of business? Or,
It absolutely is, yes.
okay. And
Yeah,
we
so
just kind of got flagged because we're so efficient, or it's we've got options because of that.
Yeah, so that's absolutely right, Ed. So every MSBA job gets a project funding agreement amendment. So we sign the agreement back before between schematic design and design development. When you're going out for your funding, you have to show that you have your portion of the funding available. We sign the agreement then. We go through the whole design, and unless the contractor bids exactly the value of on the 3011, you're always going to have an amendment. Now, worst case is that the contractor's price comes in over your budget, and then you have to account for that. Now, if it was slightly over, say we came in $100,000 over, I would probably be recommending to the committee to spend $100,000 of the 5.6 million that we had
the contingency
of contingency. You don't want to get to a point where you're spending too much of your contingency up front, or that you're spending your contingency and then some and then trying to find other funding sources. That's the absolute worst case. The best case is where we're at, where we're under budget and under budget substantially. And the MSBA always says, if you're over budget, you've got to come up with all the money on your own, out of contingency or whatever. If you're under budget, we're going to take our portion of it back, and you can tell us how you want to address your portion.
Well, why are they interested? Why? How are we going to spend out? How does it affect the MSBA?
It just affects the overall project, I think, when they're looking at the projects that they're advertising and understanding. And if you look, for example, in this, there's a percentage of eligible contingencies and stuff like that, and they just need to understand all of that.
That they,
and in
they're
the
gonna
end
take
of
their
the
money
day, though,
anyway.
Mike. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
One second.
Sorry, John.
They're going to take their portion back regardless.
They're going to take their portion.
Whether we do
back.
A, B, or C, they get the same amount of money back.
Just that's the 336. So
That's what I'm estimating at 336.
That's all that's going back to the MSBA.
And that was, Ed, if I can say one thing on that, because that was a
No,
point
that's
that I didn't want to
exactly
make.
what I was gonna ask.
Okay,
I was gonna
so
ask. Yep.
let me, I'm gonna stop sharing for a second and I'm gonna open up the Excel version of this. Share again.
Yeah, well, it's.
So is everybody
because the estimate-
able to, okay, we can see that now. So I'm gonna go back to
This is like the full Excel.
this is the full Excel version. So if you look at the full Excel version, there is a cell right here that I'm gonna, so you see how I have this one highlighted in red? The biggest single item that we have to account for is they put a cap on the cost per square foot. And this calculation, I can go through the details, but I'll just trust me that when you go through the details, it says we're 32.6 million over the cap. So I then have to plug that number in. So I'm gonna go back right here. And when I plug that number in here, that goes to 0. There, do you see that? I know it's very, very small.
Yeah.
So that 32 million comes down here. So in our original budget, before we talked about contingencies and everything like that, we had $124 million, of which $42 million was ineligible. So now we reduce our cost, and that 42 goes to 17. So almost all of the savings is within that overage that we were on the cost per square foot. So what's happening is, this is my math, not the MSBA, so I'm gonna put a little caveat, a little asterisk there. This is what I think they're gonna come back with. And what it is we've reduced our number down to a point where we're pretty much in line with their value now. And so what we were at before, that was $32.6 million. On the 50% option is, I have it hidden. Hold on one second. Is now $6 million. So 32 went to 6. And that's 6.9 and $7 million. That ineligible is because we have some spaces that still exceed the MSBA allowable on, I think, a lot of that space is the pre-K.
And the gym.
There's a little bit in the gym, there's a little bit in a few other areas, but a lot of it are those spaces that are not eligible for, you know. So that is, that's the good news is we saved 25 million. The better news is it's mostly your money.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
We understand that.
I couldn't see a scenario where. I just couldn't see a scenario where we leave 30 million in contingency in this project.
I think, you know, we've got,
For me, it would be somewhere between 0 and 50.
there's some optics to worry about here, you know, the town is wanting to have an override, and yet we could be accused of holding on to money we don't need. So why would I vote for an override? You've got money in the bank which you don't need, but you won't give it back to us. That's the kind of simple argument that people come up with. I know I would. I'm for giving as much back as we think is prudent. You don't have to give 100% back, but 50% back. I'd say it's too low. I would say 75%.
And really, that's up to you folks. I did the math to show you the 0, the 50, and the 100, just so you could have a sense.
So
So questions, when do we need to give this form to the MSBA?
Friday.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, all right.
So-
What about town meeting? We'll need to know when we need to do that.
I mean, it's something that, if we're going to receive some of the borrowing, it'll go into the warrant article, into the warrant book, and so
Yeah.
town meeting members will see it, certainly talk about it, so the public's aware that, that this committee has made that decision. to benefit the taxpayers.
If I can, just to give everybody a sense of the timeline there. We're asking for a vote tonight. We're gonna let the MSBA know by Friday. When I say by Friday, we're gonna try and do it tomorrow or Wednesday. We never want to wait till the last minute. My expectation is they're gonna reasonably quick, within a month, turn that back around and send us the new 3011 saying, do you like our math? You know, kind of double check our work. Is this acceptable? We're gonna do that for you. We're gonna review it. We're gonna bring it back to you folks. Ideally, we get that before the September meeting, so we can come back to you in September and say, everything looks good. We will then ask you to vote to approve that amendment. When you approve that amendment, then it gets signed by 4 people. It's the town manager, it's the head of the school building committee, the head of the school committee, and the superintendent of schools. So it's 4 signatures on there. It's executed. That is now your new budget. If we can do that in September, like get the draft back to you in September, we approve it in September, you sign it, it goes back to them, it has to go all the way up the chain there for them to sign it. Again, if they get it back to us in October, November, like timing wise, town meeting is coming up, right? Like, I think if we waited much longer, it probably wouldn't make town meeting. As it is, we're hoping it'll be in town meeting. I think once you vote to approve it and you've signed it, I would be comfortable that that's the number you could go to town meeting, but
We could place hold it.
Yeah. but I think timing wise, it actually probably works pretty well with where you're at town meeting.
So for the committee, we need to make this decision now, tonight. So, what are people interested in? I'm hearing less, more than 50%, 50% or more. And anybody else want to throw in their thoughts? Chris?
Thanks, Carla. I'm under the mindset of giving pretty much everything back to the town. I understand that they approved XYZ, but I would prefer if that was the route that we went, minus 500,000 or something. So it's 24 million, as my light goes off again. Just something around those lines. That is an option, right? Well, it wasn't an option, but one of the options is give the whole thing back and I will minus it off by 500,000, which means what, we have 6.5 million, I think was mentioned that we have 6 million in contingencies and all that. So maybe 6.5. Just a little bit more of a buffer. But I mean, I'm fine with also just giving the whole thing back. So.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I would recommend splitting the difference between 50 and 100%, 75%.
What does 75% mean in terms of what's the difference between 50 and 75 in real dollars?
12 million contingency. We got either 6 million or 18 million in contingency. It's halfway between the 12. 12 million is a lot of
We're still
contingency.
talking another 6 million in contingencies. Okay, I'm a little bit with Chris. I would go a bit higher than that. That's my view. I think 3 million in contingencies above the contingencies we already have is probably absolutely adequate. And I think it's good optics for the town, because otherwise people get the idea that, all the town wants to do is keep taxing the people and not giving it back when they have to. But the job came in at 30 million under the budget, but they're not giving it back to us.
I don't think we should make a decision based on what we think the town would think from an optics standpoint. I think we should.
You don't think so?
I think we should be, no, I think we should be doing what we're doing, so people have the most information, which they can be joining this committee, they can get all the numbers, they can be joining this meeting, if they so chose, so we're certainly not hiding anything from anyone. You can see all the numbers right here. Yeah, it's in a public packet, but I think we should do what's in the best interest of the project, what's the right thing for the project. It shouldn't be about worrying about the optics, because the optics are always defined by the vocal minority, not by the full town anyway. In my opinion. That's my opinion. Whatever's best for them.
Right?
Yeah, I'm gonna say something along the same line as Pat. I don't think giving it all back, or I don't think giving all but 500,000 back is prudent. Coming from the industry and having seen things happen that you couldn't possibly have forecast or anticipated or accounted for, the idea of unforeseen conditions and having sufficient monetary cover for that kind of rainy day, I think is important, especially where the value of the project and the possible debt has already been approved. We can always reconcile or not borrow it all later and show that the project comes in at a significant savings, as opposed to giving all the money back, having some unforeseen condition that none of us are thinking about right now or anticipating, and then having to go back to the town to get more money at some point, and then looking like idiots because we had an opportunity, we had plenty of funding, we had plenty of allowable debt, yet we decided to make some sort of goodwill gesture for optics that ends up burning us. So I am not in favor of giving it all back. I think 50% of 25 million or whatever the math ends up working out to for our share is probably excessive. But to Pat's point, I think splitting the difference, or at least having, at least 6 million or something in that end, and, in salvaged savings is always a good thing.
Anyone else? Thank you, Greg.
If I could give maybe one thought for people, I'm going to share a different screen. I don't know if this helps or not, but we typically, this is our total project budget sheet. Everybody's familiar with it, right? We have the total project budget. Down at the bottom here, we have the contingency. So we have hard cost contingency, soft cost contingency separated. We have the ability to add a third contingency line in there that says bid savings. So we could actually show it on a separate line and show that we're never touching it until we have to. So like on the 3011, it shows like 17 million in the hard cost contingency. It's all in there, if you will, or 50, whatever the value is. We could have it as two separate lines in here so that you can see it every month and you can see that we're never touching that. And unless we get to that point, we have to. Again, I don't know if that helps make people feel a little bit better that, again, we're not just kind of lumping it in and forgetting that it was savings on bid day. We're kind of keeping track of that, if you will.
That sounds good. I like that.
I like that approach.
I do too. Thanks, Mike.
I will say that if I, just being one member of the committee, if I had to vote on this now, I would vote for giving half back. Because the way I look at it is it's our responsibility with this project to not ever have to go back to the taxpayers. And by keeping on our path of keeping our thumb on the costs all the time and not going over, it's just like having money, it's not even having money in the bank, it's having a credit limit is what it is. And with the financial situation of the town, for me, it feels like it's even more important to never, ever have to go back to the town. So it doesn't matter to me if we're holding on an additional 6 million or 12 million. 24 is excessive, but 6 or 12, it doesn't change what we're doing. It doesn't change our process, but it gives us more coverage and more protection. And we're never going to get there, but we know all of the situations that have happened in our political arena, and we just don't know what's coming down the pike. For me, it's just more insulation, and just from a perspective for our responsibility and our jobs on this committee, continuing to be good stewards of the money, but also insulating the town from any additional exposure is important to me. So I would be very comfortable with 50%.
Everybody's gonna answer.
No, I just want to say, as an observer of this committee, all along, it has been a very functional committee that is very conservative and always examining every line item, every cost. Would you agree? You worked with many towns. this town is very exacting on every invoice, everything that we're doing, so.
And I
have
appreciate
confidence.
it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, and I think that I have great confidence that that will continue, that ethic will continue, even if there's a little bit more of a cushion in the bank, so to speak. We will still intend to finish strong and return all of that money. So we have 3 people.
Yeah, we have 3 people. It's Chris, Kirk, and Ed. We'll do Chris first.
Thanks. Am I misunderstanding? If we gave 100% back, minus my 500,000, if we give 100% back, do we still have 6 million in contingency? Is that a yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, I just, for me, I know optics has been mentioned and we shouldn't be going based off XYZ, but you have to consider the grand scheme of things. And for me, hearing that we might give 12 million back and then possibly 24 and all of this, that does play into the factor in November on how things go. And if people are wanting to see that potentially go a certain direction in November, the best course of action is making this number as large as possible, giving it back to people, or not. I mean, we have 6 million. I just don't see it. And what was the other thing I was going to mention? 6 million. I just don't. If we have the money, and I know it's not we, it ends up being the contractor and anything else that comes. I'm surprised it's not already spent to begin with. I understand it's difficult to spend $25 million, but knowing that thing is just in the background, the opportunity for somebody to want to grab some of that, it becomes a higher likelihood. Like if I had money just lying around, of course I'm going to want to spend it. Like that's under the mindset that I'm at. Not that they're going to do it or whatever scenarios happen with this isn't tracking like that. I just think we have 6 million. I don't see that why we need 12. That's kind of still where I'm at.
Thank you.
The only thing I'd say just on that is the 6 million, when we did the initial budget, we expected that was a reasonable number, but it was anticipated that you would spend it. So, or spend a reasonable portion of it. So while we do have 6 million, it's anticipated that we're going to spend a reasonable portion of that on a typical project. So that's why we're saying if you have that flexibility to have a little bit of a buffer, but yeah.
Just to respond a little bit to Chris on the like what you're gonna spend. We do have we still have 2 pretty significant sources of risk and unknowns. One is the underground. We know we have some level of contaminated material, contaminated soils, and until it's all out of the ground, the foundation's in and we're swinging steel, our risk is gonna be reduced significantly. Unfortunately, the other piece is the existing building and the asbestos. While we have surveys, et cetera, it's not uncommon to find things that are completely different than you anticipated. And we're not gonna know that. We're not gonna know that for a couple of years. So there are some things out there that could go, it's not likely, but they could go wrong and be very expensive. Just keep that in mind.
Kirk.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just really just agreeing with Carla and Pat and Greg. I've been litigating construction cases for 25 years, and you just never know what's going to happen. I pray to God that this is one of those projects that everything goes great. There's no litigation, there's no claims, there's nothing like that, but things do happen. And for the reasons that have been previously stated, I'm definitely in favor of holding on to some of it just in case, because you just don't know what's going to happen. I also really like Mike's idea that we track that separately as a separate contingency item, just so that we can see where those savings are sitting. But at the end of the day, we won't know what savings we have until the project is done and the final payment has been issued and all the change orders and claims have been resolved. So that's my 2 cents.
Or do you have a feeling for what percentage you would like to see?
I think 50%, maybe a little bit more, hold on to 50% in that neighborhood. I could be talked into giving back a little bit more, but I think we should hold on to a decent chunk of it just because we don't know what's going to happen.
Thank you.
I think the consensus is that we're going to hold on to something. In other words, Chris says, no, give it all back virtually. I think the consensus is that we don't do that. Right? So we're talking about 50% versus 75%, as far as I can see. Right? And splitting the difference is 75%. Right?
Go ahead, Ed.
Thanks, Carla. Again, I think I weighed in earlier. I'm super appreciate Kirk and Greg and Pat's kind of experience here. And Carla, I couldn't agree more with what you were saying. We have to. We've always demonstrated to date that we've been good stewards here, and I think being too aggressive does the exact opposite of what the intent is. It just it introduces more risk that we don't need to do. And then again, getting back to this optics discussion, like whatever we decide, nothing is getting. I mean, I hate to say this, but nothing is getting turned back. No one's saving any money on tomorrow or Monday after we file this. Like there's still another aspect of this that we've already talked about as far as the borrowing. So anything like having something as a slogan or saying something optically, it doesn't make any sense. It's not appropriate. So I think at the end of the day, let's just kind of do what's right, defer to the people that actually know what's going on. And actually are in the industry, and let's take that advice and put a vote forward.
Thank you, Ed.
I don't think that's quite true, Ed. We will be redoing, no doubt, our tax calculator where people can go online and find out how much their taxation, their real estate tax is going to be. And if whatever we do here will be reflected on that, and people will have access to that. And I'm the only person sitting around this table who doesn't work. I'm retired. And I speak to a lot of retired people. I go to the senior center frequently. And I can tell you, people there, they don't have any spare cash. They don't have any spare money. And the more they can see that their taxes are going to go down when they look at that tax calculator, the better off they're going to feel about the town.
So
that's the reality.
So John, and I appreciate this. So let's just kind of talk through to make sure that either one of us is right here. And maybe I'll just defer to you, Jane. Like, if we talk about a calculator versus what we've actually borrowed, isn't it based on what we've borrowed, not what we've authorized?
So, no, the tax calculator that we originally put up was based on what we were asking, $130 million. The tax calculator up right now still says that. One of the things that we're talking about doing is, do we want to try and reflect the first and second tranche so people know, okay, what came on in July was the first tranche, and then the second tranche will come on later. So that's one of the things we're working with the vendor, like how do we want to reflect that? Kind of an estimated number, it would go down to whatever the PFA, whatever the amendment reflects is where we would land. Not based on exactly what we borrow in the end, because we don't know that. But we won't know that number for real until the end. So sort of what's the greatest risk, or what's the maximum it could be? That's what the calculator was based on.
That's what it is. The calculator, whatever you're saying, is the worst case scenario. It's that we've spent every dime. When we do our cash flow, we always show that we're spending it. I'll be honest with you, even if we gave back everything right now, my goal would still be not to spend the 6.2 million, to give you some portion of that back at the end. And I think that's what everybody's goal here is. So I think even if we did that now, when you did the tax calculator, my goal would be at the end of the project that you don't even have, that wasn't right, that's still too high. So I think from that perspective, it is good to show as realistic a number as you can, as accurate a number as you can. But I think the risk in what others talked about, show that we're being prudent, give a substantial portion back, but still give yourself the flexibility if something were to.
Yeah, we would want to be as transparent as we can with the taxpayer, and I wouldn't want to guess on the low side and come in on the high side. And just previous projects, we had to, even the library, they had to go back and borrow more money. That's not great. I think it is dinged some public sentiment. And I think that's part of why this committee was created. And then previously on the high school project, the high school renovation project, there was a major Nancy's shaking her head. There was major litigation, and we only recently paid off that litigation. I think 3 or 4 years ago, we finally took it out of the operations budget, my budget, where we carried that litigation cost. So, those are things, we don't want to have an unforced error like that again. And so I think that's sort of where I hear some of the committee landing, and I don't want to land there, but I think, John's point and Chris's point, they're looking at other constituencies, and those are very valid concerns. And I share them as well. So this is something that we're talking to, but I tend to take a conservative measure. I think we've followed our process as we've gone, and our process has led to nearly $25 million in savings. Continuing to be deliberate, conservative tends to behoove us. So I appreciate the experience of all the folks in the room.
Right?
Yeah, I think, Jane, you just touched on an interesting point. I think it's some of it is communication and messaging versus the reality. If what shows on the tax calculator right now is an ask of 130 million, and we're really much lower than that, I think to a couple different points. One is in the project budget, you could show that Mike suggested standalone line item of buyout savings, and that way people can see that that's what the savings was and that's where it's being held, and it won't be touched unless we exhaust all of our other contingency. I think the tax calculator could be adjusted with a note that says, due to buyout savings, we've decreased the amount of intended money to be borrowed by $12 million. That still leaves us with 12 or 10 or 9.5 or something on the line item in the budget. It's transparent, it's easily explainable, and you're still going to tell anybody who asks that we hope to not spend it. And if we don't spend it, we won't borrow it. And therefore the overall project savings will end up being 25 million instead of 10 or 12 or 0. And also that keeps the project from being at risk. The term in the industry is unforeseen conditions. If we knew we had issues to cover, we would be covering them, we'd be pricing them, we'd have some sort of visibility to them. They are unforeseen. And that's why you want that protection. So I think there's ways to manage the message and the optics through communication. I think there's ways of maintaining transparency through the budget line item while still protecting the project.
I'm gonna make a motion that we maintain or retain $10 million and give the rest back. What was that? I'm gonna ask for a motion to do that.
So moved.
10 million.
I go where we were. I was gonna make a suggestion that we find consensus somewhere, talking 50 or 75%. A consensus. I feel like we're at a consensus somewhere around 60, 65%, which is probably where the 10 million lands. So I'm trying to figure out.
I want a percentage, I'm giving that.
So we would have a $10 million contingency over and above the $6.2 million contingency that we already have.
Yes.
I'm not support that, but okay, I can understand where it comes from. I think it's too much.
I don't think that's what you suggested, because the contingency, is that right?
Contingency is contingency, this is
It's about 40%.
yeah, there would be an additional line item, we would keep the $6+ million for our second parties on contingencies.
And then we would have another 10 million.
And we would have,
So we'd have 16 million.
yes,
That would be going the other way from 50%.
right.
You'd be going to 40%.
It would be holding 40%, giving back
60% back.
25 million
So it's 12
10 million. Means you're giving back 15. If you're keeping 10, you're giving back 15.
You wanted to give back, you wanted to hold 25 and give back 75,
Right.
right?
Yes.
So you were doing 25, I'm doing 40.
Make a motion
I think that's wrong.
to,
I don't think that's.
Yeah, I think it was.
I move to provide a return or to keep, what did you say, 60% of the, or to return 60%, 40%. I would it be 60%, right? 60%,
Why don't we-
60% return, 40% keeping would be approximate.
right? Right, so 60% return, 40% keeping, as a separate item in the budget to track as not being touched unless some catastrophic unforeseen circumstance happens down the line.
Is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by Ed, and now we're moving to discussion. Can we figure out the exact dollar amount?
I'd like to clarify what it means. That means we will be reducing the anticipated construction budget by $10 million.
I think that's the
right.
No.
Carla, I think the yellow number on the screen is. You were saying 10 million.
Yeah.
40%. Didn't technically calculate. Again, I'm doing this on the fly.
Yeah, I'd say, let's do a percentage.
Just roll that up a little bit.
39,
The 9.8 million would be what.
I know, but it's of the bottom number there, the town share returned.
I did 25%.
Oh, there you go.
All right, sorry, 40% of that.
I make a friendly amendment to have that line item at 10 million. Not do it by percentages, like around. Yeah.
Okay,
Do we have a second on that?
second,
Thank you, Ed. Okay, so on the motion on the table is to have a separate line item of contingency.
Bid savings contingency.
Bid savings.
bid savings is another way to do it, bid.
Up to $10 million.
Bid savings contingency.
Okay. Bid
And-
savings.
Giving back to the MSBA about $14,503,000. And
We're not giving
No,
anything
no.
back to the MSBA, we're just giving it back to
You
the
just reduce it.
MSBA.
sorry,
We're reducing our budget.
right, so when we go back to the MSBA, that amount will be reflected.
quick question, Carla.
Yeah.
Mike, do we have to account for the estimated MSBA share returned in that,
So-
in that 10?
What we're gonna do is we're going to have a letter supporting us from town council saying that this vote is consistent with town meeting and with the vote. But we're gonna say the town is keeping $10 million and that's what we wanna do. We're not gonna tell them what their number is. They are then going to plug everything into this form and they're gonna come back and I'm gonna say it's gonna be reasonably close to what I'm estimating.
Sure.
Yeah, so I say that their share is only 336. I could have made a math mistake. They might say it's more, they might say it's less, but that's my best estimate right now.
So if Mike, just a quick question, if they come back and say it's 500, does that change our 10 million if we approve it? Or is 10 million stay the 10 million and then like we're taking it off the top line, not out of the save number or a bid contingency number?
That's what would, so I think what I would say is the 24.8 is pretty much locked in. So if their number went up by $1 million, your number would go down by $1 million. So if we're saying we're keeping 10 million, we're returning 14. If their number went up, and I'm just using $1 million to make it, if their number went up by $1 million, you'd only be returning 13, basically.
Gotcha. Okay. So whatever we vote on by doing a hard dollar, that stays because there's enough left over from whatever the MSBA would take out of the top line.
That's correct.
Gotcha. Thanks, Mike.
Jane just calculated it out as 40.8%.
I did the long form.
What are we gonna call this special contingency? Like chicken contingency?
Bid savings.
John Coots.
The John was just gonna say, the John Coots slush fund.
Chicken. Yeah, I still don't see the logic of this, you know, I'm still with Chris that, why are we so scared about?
Because the number's so low, I'm very skeptical that this 76.
You think-
681. I think something's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen that they missed, because that is incredible savings. Who has ever seen a project come in 25 million below in a climate that we're in right now? So I'm deathly afraid that they've missed something, or we get into tearing down that building and there's something that they didn't think about. I mean, there's just been so many times when this is coming wrong.
Just to
I don't wanna
provide,
be there.
I think the other thing that Kurt said with the legal, you
Yeah,
know,
all of that.
I've done a lot of work with Braid. I hope we're not gonna have any legal issues, but you know, it doesn't always rely on the contractor. It could be the
Right.
subcontractor, it could be
Yeah, it
an
could be
individual on
something
the
that got
job site.
missed, that we're not aware of.
And they left 4 million on the table from the second bidder.
Right, I'm just really skeptical about it.
on another project we have, it's one change alone that wasn't necessarily missed by the architect, so it wasn't a mistake or anything like that, it just was no one anticipated a culvert needing to be replaced, that was $1.5 million
There you go.
alone. So just, that was, came out of left field, so there's things like that can happen.
Well, the library is a prime example. Pulling out the dirt, finding out that what they did before was completely wrong and had to be redone. I mean, that was a significant amount of money that had to go back to the town to be redone, and we don't wanna go that way. That was a horrendous situation. We don't wanna do that.
I think this is protecting the town.
I think we need it, I
I
really
agree
do.
too.
I'm hoping that 10 million is enough.
I know, I'm getting nervous.
I'm so nervous. I am so nervous about
No,
this.
the second bid of only 4 million.
I don't, it doesn't matter. I don't know. I don't believe it.
Let's do 4 million.
Yeah, no, I don't believe it.
Any discussion on the $10 million on the table?
Could I ask a quick question? I think Kirk maybe could answer this, is, having just gone through an asbestos situation of construction, how much would, if, let's say they dig and asbestos is found, what would be usually around the typical cost for a project like this? Or Mike maybe could answer.
Yeah, I would defer to Pat or someone else, but I know that it's going to be a big deal. I think it depends on how much they find. The abatement is going to be tough. So yeah, I would defer to Pat, but it would be expensive, I would imagine.
I would just say that theoretically, we've pre-characterized the site, so we've tested the material, and we have borings, so they know what elevations they're going to. So there should be sufficient money in the bid for that, likewise with the asbestos. But those things, when you open up the ground, you don't know, and it's just an unknown, it could be anything. I wouldn't be like, I don't expect it. And I'm sure our consultants would fight and make sure that everything that was requested was warranted. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a 7-figure change on either one of those line items, the asbestos or the site. I mean, doing recal, we were concerned about the site.
Yeah.
And we took a relatively aggressive approach to the design, thanks to John Coote kind of pushing and poking people. And we got out of the ground, there's no issues, 100% no issues. Everything's, the foundation's in, most of the site utilities are in. We got nothing. Which when I saw the bid results, I would have figured, not a 7-figure, but I would have bet anything we'd have got a 6-figure subsurface condition change order on that job. So I know it's a long-winded way to say you can't put a number on it. You don't know. Just don't know what you're gonna find. And you find things, you do a test pit, 4 test pits that are all 40 feet apart in a rectangle, and then it's what's in the middle of that. And you'd be like, it can't be possible that what's in the middle of that is completely different, and it's a new level of contaminated material that we didn't anticipate, but that happens all the time. So I think 6 million should be a sufficient contingency for with the team we have to manage, and I think we should be fine with that. But I think what we're proposing is very pragmatic, very responsible. It shows clarity to town meeting and to town voters. I don't think it would be, I don't really worry about the optics, but I think we should be as transparent as possible and showing that there's some savings that's definitely coming back to them. We're at a point where we can say, you're definitely getting something back. And we hope to return more. Long-winded way to say it.
Right.
Yeah, I was just, when Pat was talking about soil pre-characterization, I'm just gonna share a personal experience where even on a 4-acre site with pre-characterized boreholes every 10 feet on center for soil disposal pre-characterization, that pre-characterization still missed a tremendous amount of arsenic, which is highly toxic, can be airborne, and shut a site down. So there's a certain amount of due diligence that has been done to try to eliminate and reduce risk. But going back to the concept of unforeseen conditions, all the due diligence in the world won't expose all the potential risks that we may face, which is why I'm in support of keeping a 10 million at least, what's been proposed.
16.2 million. We already have 6.2.
Any other comments?
Find some spotted salamanders.
Okay, we're going for the vote. Everybody's clear on what we're voting on?
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Chris,
No.
Kirk,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
And Carla, yes, and that motion passes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Carl.
So they need to have bid savings, but then that'll be part of the EFA amendments.
I'm going back to the list here again.
Yeah.
So just looking at the agenda, we had bid savings discussion, which we just had. We had MSBA 3011 form. So we will do an updated version of that with a nice round $10 million number. I'm not gonna do the percentage because I think the vote was on the 10 million. And if the MSBA number changes a little bit, it might change that percentage by a little something. So to be consistent with the vote, we're gonna do $10 million. We're gonna send that to the MSBA. We'll get that information over to Joshua tomorrow so that we can get legal counsel to give us a thumbs up on it. And we'll get that turned around to the MSBA as quickly as possible.
So we don't have to vote on that for 3011.
I don't think we need to vote on it. I think the vote that we just
Yes.
did is that, and then
EFA amendment.
I think the only thing, I guess, is that I think it was kind of implicit in what you just did, is that you want us to give that to the MSBA, but if you felt you needed to do a separate vote to authorize us to do that, you could, but I don't really see that there's a need for a separate vote on that, so. So with that understanding, I think I'm gonna put that aside and I'm gonna go to a new topic, and the new topic is, it's a new topic that was an old topic, and we called it, assigning a designee on behalf of the Killam School Building Committee. I'm going to share my screen again here. I had another memo that I installed in the package, or the Joshua had in the pack. So before I get into the memo, I wanna show everybody the backup, and you may remember this from a few years back. I had done a workflow chart showing, this committee meets once a month. And if tomorrow we hit an unforeseen or something like that, and the contractor needed to be allowed to move forward, we wanted to have an avenue to allow that to move forward. So we presented this document back in January of 24, I think it was. Go back to the first page here. Yeah, so January 22nd, 2024, we met, we reviewed that workflow. And at the time I had requested to have a designee or designees approved, that we could go to off-cycle and ask for them to approve something to allow it to continue to move forward without delay. Just be clear on this, this is not just regular, business as usual, we come here. This is, hey, we have a time constraint, there's an issue at the end. This committee back in January 24 voted two designees. It could be the facilities director or the town manager, or sorry, town administrator. And manager, sorry.
Strong
And-
town man.
And they capped it at $50,000. If you may remember, or you may not, I had recommended 100 at the time we were rolling in design. I think everybody was new, you didn't know us yet. So you suggested 50 and I said, no worries, but I might approach you back again when we get the contractor on board. So, you know, it's been 2.5 years now and now I'm coming back to you. I am just asking for reconsideration of keeping everything we did before, just adjusting that value from $50,000 to $100,000. Again, just so everybody's clear, there's 4 criteria that have to be met in order for this designee to be able to do this. First and foremost is we have to make a recommendation to do it. You know, as your design professionals and as your owners, project management professionals. So Colliers makes a recommendation, number 1. Number 2, we confirm in writing that it's under $100,000. Number 3, we confirm in writing that it is within the budget, that it's not gonna, you know, push us over the budget. And then the last item is if the designee, for whatever reason, is just not comfortable because it's unknown to them, whatever, they say no. So that's what you had approved before with the $50,000 limit. I think the 2 designees that you have are appropriate. I would probably recommend keeping those 2. We had them as positions before, not as individuals, so I would probably recommend keeping that and just reconsideration of $50,000. So I can go into more details, but that's basically what that letter says.
Does anybody have any questions on this?
Yeah, the question is why would we change it from 50,000? We've already voted on 50,000. Why change it?
I think we voted on 50,000 when we were in the design phase, which was, we were talking smaller dollars overall. Now we're in the construction phase where dollars can get larger, and the alternative is just that it may delay the project or it may create a schedule impasse that we would have. So it's something that I've recommended on all my projects for the last 4 or 5 years. And again, if you don't want to, you don't have to, but that's what we're asking for reconsideration.
Yeah.
The first line, Colliers has reviewed the issue and recommends approval in writing. Would it make more sense for that to say Colliers and LBA have approved, have reviewed the issue and recommend approval in writing?
We certainly can do that. What it's typically been is we've always add a cover sheet to it. We don't typically have a cover sheet from LBA, but we do certainly consult with them. David, I don't want to speak for you, but would you be able to add a cover sheet to that if needed?
Yeah, whatever the committee would need in terms of documentation, Mike. But as you noted, you know, we'll obviously give every change very due diligence and scrutiny. We review that with the Colliers team. If the designees have any questions, of course, we'll be happy to discuss it in detail at length. But yeah, if you need any formal documentation from us, just let us know.
It's kind of inherent, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would be honestly, we're gonna be talking with Dave Delaire, we're gonna be talking with the contractor, we're gonna be talking with everybody. Like, we're gonna do our due diligence before we would ever break it. Just like we would to the committee, to the full committee.
Move to amend, or do you want a whole new?
I don't know the legal, I mean, as it was voted on before, that's why I gave you the specific dates.
Right, exactly.
I don't know if you would just do a new one, or if you would just amend I don't know what the appropriate,
Amend.
starting today.
Yeah.
Starting today. Move to amend the authorization limit for the 2 individuals representing the town manager and facilities director from 50,000 to 100,000. As outlined in the Colliers memo. So,
As of August.
as of August 16th, 2026.
Second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Pat. Any discussion? Going to the vote. Pat,
Yes.
John,
No.
Chris,
Yeah.
Kirk, Ed,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Thank you. And Carlos, yes, and that passes. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, this is really emergency effort, so it's not something that we hope to use too long. Thank you. So we got through the off-cycle commitments. Now we're to the regular portion of your program here, regular scheduled program.
It's getting late, so I'll make this a quick one. So your budget summary, so you'll notice some changes here. We have the contractor's value in committed costs under construction. We do have some expenditures to date pending the approval of their rec during the invoice portion of the meeting. But this value consists of their rec and the builder's risk policy that we for earlier before bringing them on board. So total balance to spend as of now is $100,482,182. For architectural engineering, we have spent to date $6,904,369 with a balance of $3,990,631. For administrative costs, spent to date $2,735,605 with a balance to spend of $5,840,287. Down here, I believe we're going to be carrying. I'm sorry, this is FF&E pictures. As I mentioned before, this is going to be something that's will be coming up probably quicker than you think to start to evolve and write PO. We'll be writing POs for this value that we have in these categories. And I believe we're going to track right here is where the second contingency line item will be. So we have our construction contingency, of our bid savings contingency, and then our owner's contingency. And then that'll change the total project value. I'm not sure what the total math was yet, but that'll reflect.
Yeah, and I think what I'll say is, if you scroll just up a little bit, that first column that you're looking at, if you keep going up, it'll just so I can see the header on it.
Which here?
So that says PFA approved, so that's project funding agreement approved. So what we can do is next month, we will add another column in there that will say projected project funding agreement amendment. So until we get the official document from the MSA, if we get the official, then we can make the change. But if we don't get the official, we'll leave the approved one in there, and then we'll give you the projected one as well, so that you can kind of see where those are. And if you go all the way to the bottom again, what you'll see there is the 130 million will remain in the bottom of that column, and then two over, the current budget will still tie to the 130, but we'll have a column there showing you something that's about 14 million less than that or so, that's gonna be in the neighborhood of 116 million or something like that. Again, we'll get you the exact math.
Yes.
We can start to show that, and we'll add that contingency line, and you'll actually see that contingency showing up in that column, not in the current column, but in that column. In the current, it would just be 0.
So I believe we have commitments on this first, so I'm just going to go to our commitments first. All right, so 2 commitments this month. One is for a credit from Systems Contracting. They're the company that provided our switchgear. There was a change to compensate for some breaker revisions, which resulted in an overall credit. That's for $5,250. And then another commitment for Amazon Business. This is the value for the temporary playground equipment that will be used during construction.
Do you need a motion for this? And these are commitments, not necessarily paying, right?
Right.
Move to accept the credit from System Contracting for $5,250,000. Sorry, thank you, that would be helpful.
Second.
If I add any discussion? Going to the vote, Pat,
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Kirk?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
And Carla, yes, that passes. Thank you.
Move to accept the commitment for Amazon Business for playground equipment at $6,973.36.
Second.
Seconded by Pat. Any discussion? Seeing none, going to the vote. Pat?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Chris? Kirk?
Sorry, yes. Couldn't
Thank
unmute.
Kirk?
Yes. Yes.
Ed? Greg?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
And
Yes.
Carla, yes. Thank you. That passes. Sorry, Greg.
And Lindsay will tell you that had some assembly.
And if anybody wants to help, she's looking for help.
I'll give you the hand.
Okay.
Invoices. So we have college project leaders for $58,727.50. David Delaire. This is for month of June. For $300, and then these values for the Amazon business equals the commitment that you just approved of that $6,900. Then we have Great Builders requisition for $943,429.80.
Yeah.
The David Delaire is for July.
So it's
So,
for July.
oh,
It says June.
Thank you.
I move to accept the invoice and pay for $58,727.50 for Collier's project leaders. Invoice number 1202867 and dated 8/6/26. Is that correct?
Second.
Seconded by Ed. Any discussion? Pat?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Kirk? Ed?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Kirk?
Yes.
And Carla, yes, that passes. Thank you.
Move to accept and pay the invoice from David Delaire for July 2026 services in the amount of $300.
Second.
Seconded by Ed. Any discussion? Pat?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Kirk?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Carla, yes, that's passes.
I have it right here. Accept and pay the invoices, the multiple invoices from Amazon Business in the total amount of $6,973.36 for playground equipment.
Second.
Any discussion?
Is this the final? I mean, we keep getting these, this is it? This is.
I think this is it for the primary.
It's multiple invoices.
Yeah, it's for all the
Is that-
playground.
yeah.
Right now.
That
it's for
will,
all.
there'll probably be an additional invoice, I would say, in a year. But not for this current school year right now.
Okay.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Any further discussion? Pat?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Kirk?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
And Carla, yes, that passes. Thank you.
Accept and pay requisition number 1 from Great Builders in the amount of $943,429. I'm sorry, $943,429.80.
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Pat.
Oh, no way.
everyone should celebrate.
Pat,
Yes.
Discussion.
go ahead. Do you have discussion?
This has been reviewed by.
Yeah, so just so everybody understands, we do a several step process. So we get what we call a pencil rec, which is a draft form for Brake. It's reviewed by not only Collier, but also the design team. We make comments on those. We then meet with the contractor to review those comments. They make updates and they either provide additional backup to show why their number was right, or they make the adjustments down to our number. That's been done. And that will be done. That's the standard process. We actually have a calendar that we created a detailed calendar with all the dates for the next 2 years. When the pencil rec needs to be in, when the comments need to be in, so that everybody knows, what's expected of everybody.
And then it's sent to Kirk. Kirk, you're good with this, with Bright's requisition on?
Everything seemed fine.
Thank you.
Okay, I just didn't see $1 million was work out.
So it's almost all bonds.
That's all bonds, yeah.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Okay, going to the vote. Pat,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Kirk, Ed,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
and Carla, yes, and that passes. Thank you. Going to approval of prior meeting minutes for 7/20/26.
Move to accept the meeting minutes. Not there yet, of when it was 7/20/26 as submitted.
Second.
Seconded by Pat. Any discussion? Okay, Pat,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Kirk,
Abstain.
Ed,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
and Carla, yes, and that motion passes. Thank you. Our future agenda, are there any future agenda items for anyone that they'd like to submit? Our next meeting dates are listed here. Looks like our meeting will be, in our November meeting will potentially be on day 4 of town meeting. Yikes. Do we think we're gonna have 4 days of town meeting?
That is up to town meeting, my friend.
So,
We don't have a long, I don't think we have a lot of articles coming forward.
we'll probably look to change it.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get
That's
that.
Thanksgiving.
Oh, really?
And that's the Monday, yeah, that's the Monday of Thanksgiving.
You better not have a fourth.
All right, well, we're looking to changing that date for everyone. Motion,
Motion to adjourn.
non-debatable. Oh, thanks. Seconded by Pat. Pat,
Yes.
come on.
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Kurt. That's a yes. Ed,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
And Carla, yes. Motion for adjourn. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carla.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good night.